Hi everybody, we're going to do October for the year of tea as well, so the 10th month, and this is one of my most favorite and exciting teas. I was just talking to Denise about it, who spoils you with the year of tea but isn't a tea drinker herself, and I was telling her this is the one she has to try because you can bring this tea into your kitchen as a culinary flavor, like a liquid smoke, even if you're not a tea drinker. And so I'm going to do my best to say it, but everybody forgive me. I'm just a girl from Kentucky here. So we've got Lapsang Souchong. And again, she's from Camellia sinensis. Remember, our tea shrub, our plant that brings us every tea that we drink. And it's just depending on the curing, the harvesting, and how man treats it or doesn't treat it that gives us its flavor, texture, color, and quality. And this is a very much man-touched and adulterated tea, the final product. We would not get this end result in this tea if it weren't for like some true labor. And this comes from China. It's an original Chinese tea that's really probably pretty rare and kind of hard to find in the world of teas. So it's a dark and smoky flavor. And by smoky, I mean it's like liquid smoke. And why I chose it for the month of October is it's kind of like a campfire. And when you open up your bag, you'll even smell it. You know how when you go hiking and camping and then the next day until you take your shower and wash out, you can smell the smoke in your hair? This is very, very similar to that. It tastes like smoke smells. So it's really good, but it is best for the seasoned and or the adventurous tea drinker. So to just drink it as a tea, you've really got to be ready for it. And I really like teas, but I have to be in the mood, honestly, for this one because it is so smoky and unique that it's very distinct and potent. It's really hard for me to put into words, so I'm really excited for you guys to taste it and smell it yourself. How it gets this really potent and distinct profile is it's gently smoked over pine bark and pine needles. And I mean very gently. It's raised really high. It's smoked maybe 6 or 7 feet above and turned on screens, and it's tended to and babied and just fiddled with literally for days and days. It's even covered at night with like tarps and cloths to harness in that fire smoke, and then taken out the next day, and they're like these open screens and you kind of flip them and turn them. But there are tea tenders that make this souchong, and their job is not to harvest and pick and pluck the teas and bring them down, but it's to tend the fires and just the bark and the needles from the pine trees. They collect them and feed the fire and keep it just right because you don't want it too hot either. You need like a smoldering, really low heat and a smoke. And they do it 8 to 9 to 10 hours a day until it rests at night and then go back to it. So this takes days and days of tending, curing, smoke, attention. I mean, this tea is so fiddled with and fawned over that it's really special. And you can kind of tell and feel the quality of it. It has a lot of like energetic property to it. And it's incredibly savory, almost salty. So not at all one for the sweet palate. And again, it's purely smoky. It reminds me of like liquid smoke, or when you go to a really good barbecue and you can taste and smell that smoke flavor. You can even taste the wood in it too, like the pine, kind of when you get like a good wine and you can smell like that wood from the barrel it was aged in. This is super similar. It brings out those, like that same familiar quality of that smoke and that wood. So my suggested use for you guys is to bring this into your kitchen as a culinary flavor. So like also known as like a liquid smoke. And you've seen liquid smoke at the grocery store in those little bottles. And it's FDA approved and everything, but that's an artificial flavor. That's a man-made created flavor from a laboratory. Now this is a lab-made, not a lab-made, but a man-made created flavor, but not from a laboratory, just from the labor of human beings and the smoke from these trees and these pine needles. So it's really incredible to use for marinades. So you just make the tea and then you marinate your meat, your vegetable, your protein, whatever it is, in the tea. And then you can also add vinegar, water, salt, or other spices, but it marinates in that smoky, rich flavor. Another really good way to use it, and you need just a little bit of the tea leaves, like a literal pinch, like maybe a quarter of a teaspoon if you wanted to try to measure it out. You mix it with some of your salt, and it can be a fancy finishing culinary salt you have at home or just your regular table salt. You can use a mortar and pestle or just a bowl and a spoon, and you grind it in really well together. Maybe add a little bit of pepper or rosemary or whatever else you would like. And then you make it a rub on your roast, like a pork roast or a chuck roast, and you rub that salt on there, and then I like to slow cook it, like in a crock pot or something similar, all day long, like when you're going to make, you know, your roast before you head out for the day to come back to, and it gives it a killer smoky flavor, like a really savory, rich robustness. And it's kind of fun too in October because we are starting our fires and it's getting cool, but we've stopped grilling mostly, so you kind of lack that smoky flavor and that grill flavor in your kitchen. So it's a really fun way to bring it in the winter months when you kind of are craving that outdoor taste without having to go outdoors and cook. I also like to add just literally, guys, like 2 or 3 little tea leaves to my water. I steam a lot of vegetables, so I'll do kind of like a double boiler and just fill my little pan up with water, and then I have a steamer that fits on top with a lid. I'm sure we all have similar things. And I'll throw my broccoli or cauliflower or whatever in there, and then maybe a little salt and pepper or butter on top, and I steam them for maybe 3 to 5 minutes right when I'm like getting ready to cut my protein and plate. And then all I do is just let the tea leaves go in the simmering water underneath. I don't add them on top to the vegetables or anything like that because it's such an intense and distinct flavor that just adding a few tea leaves to the steaming water gives it a smoky flavor. It makes it taste like you smoked your vegetables or wrapped them up in parchment or aluminum and put them out on your grill. So the other thing about that too is you're getting the flavonoids, the antioxidants, the tannins, the little trace elements of fluoride that we've talked about throughout the year with our other teas. So it's also like a really good way to kind of add little hints of those trace elements and those things that the Camellia sinensis hold in their plant matter that are hard to find otherwise. So truly, I would say this is campfire. And you can also tell it's a piney campfire. You know, you can smell that resinousness. And it's kind of cool to think about that when you taste it, it's pine bark and pine needles from the mountainsides of China. So, and the altitudes are really high, so it's probably the closest I'll ever get to China in its taste and profile, but it's a fun way to do it. So you only need 1 teaspoon, again, just like last month's with the Irish breakfast tea. These are really, really strong, potent flavors, and they're really distinct, so they can get too strong really fast, so less is more. So 1 teaspoon to 6 to 8 ounces of your hot water, and then this one you probably do want to bring to a full boil, if you can, less than a simmer, because the heat, the hotter it gets and the more it boils, it releases that smoky flavor. And again, it can be really, really strong, so it's good. But remember, it's for the seasoned and adventurous tea drinker, and my suggested use is to bring it into your kitchen as a culinary flavor, a smoky flavor for rubs, marinades, steaming vegetables and proteins, because I think that you'll really enjoy it, and it's a fun way to introduce tea in a way that most of us don't use it and are accustomed to. So again, for the month of October, we're going to basically do campfire tea is what my nickname for it would be. And it's the Lapsang Souchong from our good old Camellia sinensis. Incredibly dark and smoky, smoky, smoky flavor. Very distinct and potent. And it's smoked over pine bark and needles all the way in China. And its suggested uses for us, from us to you, are to use it in your kitchen as a liquid smoke and to try to bring in that palate into your meats and your proteins for a fun kind of fall flavor. So again, this is it for the month of October. I'm Carissa, and we'll see you next month for November, which is going to be turmeric chai, which is a really fun tea, and it turns pumpkin orange, so it'll kind of sync up with the Thanksgiving holiday and the seasons. And until then, we'll see you then. And remember, this is a strong, smoky girl, so a little goes a long way, but enjoy her because she's exotic and expensive. Have a good day.